3, 2, 1, time!
World record. Oh hey, what's up? WOD Tip Wednesday here. This week we're covering deadlift basics. So going back to how we kind of progress through our on-ramp program. When we first teach people deadlifts, we like to keep it pretty simple. So go ahead and bring it over here and we'll start talking about general setup. First thing, foot position. Hip width stance. A lot of beginners like to start a little bit wide on their deadlift. Those heels need to be right underneath those hip sockets. From there, hands are going to be a couple inches outside of the legs, but not too wide. From here, we like to teach the overhand grip to start. So I get an overhand grip. I'm nice and tight on this bar, so my arm is nice and straight. I don't ever bend my elbows, even when I'm setting up for that deadlift. So I've got this nice straight arm. My arms are boards. That's an analogy we like to use. And then from here, before we start, we're going to start to put about 20 to 40 pounds of upward pressure on this bar before we pull it off the ground. This gets tight on the bar, this locks my shoulder and my back into place, and then from here, I'm just simply going to drive my feet into the floor, keep my back flat, and then come to a stand. At the top, there's no need for me to shrug, I just keep my back locked in. As I return the bar to the ground, I'm going to send the butt back, I'm going to keep the knees back until the barbell clears the knee, and then I'm going to bend the knee once the barbell is past the knee. So once again, I'm going to drive the heel into the ground, keep that barbell on the leg. That barbell should never come off your leg when you're deadlifting, and then from here I'm pushing the knees back until the barbell clears the knee, and then I'm down to the ground. Let's talk about a couple details here. So, first thing, common flaws that we see when we teach people to deadlift. I'm going to swing around to the side just a little bit here. The first thing is a rounded back. So people just aren't quite sure what to do with this back position as they're pulling from the ground. So they get up here, they're trying to figure out where their back needs to be, and they go to pull, and then there's this big rounded over position. If you feel any round in your back whatsoever, you need to work on your back position a little bit more until you can get it into a nice flat position. Also, other flaws that we see. Once people figure out how to get that back into a nice flat position, they tend to want to look up at the ceiling or look straight ahead as they pull from the ground. Ideally, when we deadlift, we're only going to look about 3 to 5 foot out in front because I want my C-spine to be in line with the rest of my spine all the way down to my hips. So instead of looking up at the sky, I'm just going to look down at the ground, 3 to 5 feet in front of me, and then from here, driving the heels into the ground, keeping the bar against my legs and standing. A couple other common flaws that we see with beginner deadlifters. Just going too heavy too soon. So people learn proper form, they get into class, they want to load up the same weight that the guy next to them is doing, and they're just not quite able, so they get into that rounded back position. They may be able to physically stand it up, but not with good form. So you should only progress your deadlift as heavy as you can go while keeping that back nice and flat. Just a few more common faults that we want to address. Getting the bar away from the legs or having the weight in the toes. So a lot of times people think that it's a big yank motion that pulls this barbell off the ground, or they're just not used to the concept of sliding the barbell up the leg. That's one of the most important things when you deadlift. It may feel a little bit strange the first few times you do it, but you need to instill those good principles. So just as a bad example here, my weight's out in my toes, the barbell's not super far away from me, but that's going to put a ton of pressure in my upper back, and it's not going to allow me to keep a nice flat back throughout. Last thing that we want to talk about as far as faults are concerned is overextending at the top. So a lot of times with our beginner deadlifters, people get a little bit overzealous in this finish position and they want to finish here. Okay? This is a bad position to be in, putting a ton of pressure in that lower spine. So when you deadlift, you simply just need to stand to a nice tall position, keeping those shoulders pulled back and down, and that's what finishes the rep. So just to kind of go back over some basic deadlift principles, most important things: flat back, weight in heels, and bar path. And going back to bar path, that just means keeping that bar on the leg and allowing it to have a nice, perfect vertical path on the way up. so that I'm not working out around the knees, I'm not putting strange shear pressure on my back. That's gonna be it for WOD Tip Wednesday this week. Check back next week.